Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Sportsocology Show. I'm your host, Bill Knutson. It's Saturday, March 15th, 2004. Hope everybody's having a great day and a great weekend so far. I've got a couple of things, maybe three things I want to talk about. A couple of things in the NBA and my opinion on the top 5 NFL free agent signings so far. So I'm going to get right into business. Now this, for my cousin Ken up in Massachusetts, who last week reminded me that I didn't mention the possibility of Phil Jackson coming to New York to be the president of basketball operations. Totally an oversight on my part. I was waiting to see when and if it would be official, and as of yesterday, it is official. So Ken, this is for you. I'm starting off the show with my opinion of the Phil Jackson signing, and here it is. Obviously, I think it's awesome. He's got a history with the New York Knicks. He was on both of the New York Knicks championship teams back in '69 and '73, besides the 11 championships he's won as a coach. So obviously, his name, his presence, the respect, the winning tradition that he has, none of that obviously can hurt the New York Knicks organization, because where they are now, they're really in the crapper. They're, I'm not going to say a doormat. I'm not going to say nobody has any respect for them. It's not that horrible, but it's pretty bad. I mean, you have Carmelo Anthony, and he's a great scorer, but in my opinion, he's very one-dimensional. He doesn't rebound the way he should. He doesn't pass the way he should. He doesn't make guys around him better like a LeBron James does, or back in the day when Michael Jordan did it. So that's the issue I have with Carmelo. He's probably one of the top 5 scorers, pure scorers in the NBA, but as an all-around basketball player, I don't think he's even in the top 10, because there's more than just scoring to being a great player in the NBA, and my opinion is Carmelo is one-dimensional. Anyway, back to Phil Jackson. I'm not sure if, all the success that he's had, obviously, on the bench will translate, into the Knicks winning, but obviously he knows how to deal with tremendous egos. He's had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Kobe and Shaq and, all of those guys for all of these years. So he knows how to put together a great team, and now it's actually his job to do so. He won't have a problem with all the different personalities and egos, like I said. So I think it's really a no-lose situation, not only for Phil Jackson, but for the Knicks itself. In a year or two, if Jackson hasn't straightened anything out because of the ownership, especially the owner, that he's going to have to work for, if the owner is just so meddlesome and doesn't let Phil Jackson actually be in control of the basketball operations like he should, then Phil Jackson can just walk away from the situation and really honestly say, well, he was so meddlesome, he was the one doing everything. I really never got a chance to put my stamp on the team and do what I thought was best. But I'm hoping that ownership will wise up and just give the reins to Phil Jackson. You're paying him $12 million a year. So obviously, if I were the owner, I'd be like, Phil, I want you to do one thing for me. Bring me a championship. I want a championship ring on my finger. Bring it to me. Whatever you need to do, whatever trades in the draft, you need to cut people, free agents, whatever you need to do, this team belongs to you. You go out, and your one job is to win me a championship. That's what I want you to do. So that's what I'm hoping the ownership will allow Phil Jackson to do. I'm looking forward to it as a Knicks fan. I'm excited about it, and I think that the Knicks can only do one thing, and that's go up. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good thing, and I certainly hope so. Now, on to my opinion, the top 5 free agent signings in the NFL so far. Now, there's going to be differences of opinion. I'm sure there are a few people that could have been in my top 5, but if you're doing a top 5, you're going to leave a few people out that are worthy. It's like picking for the All-Star game, in any sport. There's always going to be a few people that are worthy that are out, or, March Madness. In fact, tomorrow they're picking, the 68 teams for March Madness. So, and there's always going to be a few that are on the bubble that get in, and then a few that are on the bubble that get out, that don't make it. And then there'll be teams that play in big conferences that don't get in because teams with easier schedules, with better records, get in, which I never liked anyway, but that'll probably be on the show for next week about the March Madness. But these are my 5, at least the signings as of today, March 15th. Not in any particular order, just kind of the 5 that kind of stuck out to me. As a Giants fan, of course, Hakeem Nicks sticks out to me. He left the Giants, and he's out in Indianapolis with the Colts now. I think it's a great signing for the Colts. Andrew Luck is going to increase his ability to score points. I think his passing percentage will be up because he has a real home run threat, assuming that Hakeem Nicks has gotten over the nagging injuries that kept him out of the end zone last year. And I think Hakeem probably didn't give his best effort because, not only because of the injuries, but the Giants' season was bad. He had this contract thing hanging over his head, which, you're a professional. You're supposed to leave that on the side, and when you're on the field, you're supposed to give everything you've got on the field and let the contract stuff be off the field. But I think that Hakeem, out there with a great quarterback like Andrew Luck, new blood, a new contract, a good team, I think it's going to be a big loss for the Giants. I don't know what they're going to get to, fill his place, his spot on the roster, but I think it's going to be a big upgrade for Andrew Luck and the Colts. The next one that I'm talking about is Eric Decker, who caught a bunch of passes out there in Denver with Peyton Manning for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns. He just signed a nice contract with the New York Jets. I think it's a good move for the Jets, but I don't think it's a good move for Eric Decker because the Jets don't have a quarterback. And I'm sorry, Ken, my cousin Ken, big Jets fan. I'm sorry, this might be a little painful to hear, but the Jets have no quarterback. They have no offense whatsoever. They don't have a running game. They don't have a quarterback. So Eric Decker, yeah, he got his money. He got his longer contract. He got his money. But he just played in the Super Bowl. Granted, it didn't go well for him. But does he really think in the next 3 or 4 years he's going to even sniff the Super Bowl? I don't see that happening for the Jets at all in the next 3 or 4 years, unless he does what I would do and buy a ticket. So Decker got his money, great, but if he comes out and says that he went to the Jets because he thinks he has a good chance to win, that's just not true. I just can't see how that's true. I'm glad you got your money, but you left the place where you had a great chance to win for a place that I don't think you have any chance to win at all for the next 3, 4, 5 years. But, the paycheck is nice, so I can't argue with a man going for the money. But I think maybe he could have gone somewhere else and gotten similar money with a much better chance to win. But it's definitely a big upgrade for the Jets. It gives them a little something on offense to wish for, to hope for, whatever. But I just don't see their quarterback situation and their running situation being much of a help, for Decker at all. His numbers are going to go down tremendously, in my opinion, because the quarterback position, the level of quarterback play between Denver and the Jets is tremendously, in favor of Denver, obviously. So he got his money, but he's certainly going to win far fewer games. I have Steve Smith, formerly of the Carolina Panthers, on my list. Just signed a nice 3-year deal in Baltimore. Huge help for Baltimore. Baltimore has, possibly a championship caliber team. They just did win the Super Bowl, not this past season, but the season before. But at wide receiver, they had, Bolden back then, who left and went to the 49ers. So they were a little weak this past season at the wide receiver position. Now, Steve Smith's 35 years old, but I think he's a very young 35. He seems to be in tip-top shape, and he swears he's going to be in the best shape any 35-year-old football player has ever been, and I would tend to believe him because he's always in top shape. He plays really hard, and I think he's got new life over in Baltimore. Flacco's a good quarterback. The only thing that I think might be a problem, I know Steve Smith is saying that, he's going to do whatever he can to punish the Panthers if he gets the opportunity. Well, I don't think that opportunity is going to be there very often. They're in different, they're in different conferences, so they're not going to play each other that much. So they're not going to meet in the playoffs. So the only real damage he could ever do is if the Panthers met the Ravens in the Super Bowl, which, I don't know, I guess could happen in the next few years, but, I don't really see it. So, but, he's got the opportunity. I think the Ravens are going to be a much improved offense with the exception of the running game. Ray Rice definitely was on the decline this past season, and with these legal issues, serious legal issues, these aren't minor issues, serious legal issues, and, it seems like physically he's declining, so that lack of running game, or at least a diminished running game, may hurt the passing game. But on the other hand, they may have to pass a lot more because the running game is diminished, and we'll have to see how the offensive line holds up. If they pass a lot more, Steve Smith might get a lot of catches, but if the offensive line can't really protect Flacco because the defense doesn't have to worry about a running game or anything, the numbers might go down tremendously for Steve Smith. But I still think it's a really good pickup. Excuse me. So, moving on, I've got Julius Peppers on my top 5 list. He just left the Bears for their arch enemy, the Green Bay Packers. And I think that's a really good pickup for the Packers and a loss for the Bears, because the Packers have been a little weak on defense the last couple of seasons. I know Woodson was aging. Clay Matthews was hurt for a bit of the season. They've had some injuries, so I'm sure that was part of it. The only thing about Julius Peppers, he is a freak of nature with his speed and height, his arm length to get the arms in the passing lane and knock down balls. He's got all the ability in the world, but it seems like his motor is not always running. He doesn't have a motor like a J.J. Watt or a Jared Allen or those guys that are just running 1,000 miles an hour every single second that they're on the field, giving it everything they've got. Julius Peppers is not that guy. He's got all the athletic ability in the world, but he seems to take plays off and not give it his best every second that he's on the field. I think that's the only reason with this upcoming draft that Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina is not the overwhelming choice for number 1, because he's the same. He's got the speed, the power, he's got all the ability in the world, but Clowney takes some plays off. And this past season, whether you think it's right or wrong, he didn't play the way he did the previous season. Now, maybe it was because he was concerned about his NFL future if he got hurt. I don't know. I don't know if you think that's the right way to go about it or not. Me personally, I think when you're in college, you're concentrating on playing your best in college. That's me. When you're on that field, you're supposed to give your maximum effort. Sometimes your maximum effort may not be great, but it should never be because you didn't give it your best. That's my opinion. But that's the issue with Julius Peppers. Maybe with new life in Green Bay, if he gives it his best, Green Bay is going to have a tremendous upgrade in their defense. And the last one in my top 5 is Darrelle Revis, who just left the Bucs after one kind of lackluster season, and now he's with the Patriots. just going to the Patriots, I think, will make him an all-pro like he used to be. Assuming that he's recovered from the injury that he had with the Jets, and assuming, that he is ready to go, it just seems like everybody that comes to the Patriots ends up being great for the Patriots. He will find his spot, his niche on the team, and for whatever reason, that Patriot system, again, Ken, I know you hate this. As a Jets fan, you hate it. But the Patriot system just seems to work. I am not a Patriots fan at all. I don't like the Patriots, but I respect what they do. And it seems like everybody that they bring in or draft or trade for, get as free agents, whatever it is, everybody that they bring in just seems to fit. I mean, just look at the way the Patriots have been the last 12, 13 years. Been in 5 Super Bowls, several other AFC championships. They're dominating the East, which I don't expect as long as Tom Brady plays. I'm expecting that, the next 3, 4, 5 years while Brady's still there, that the NFC East will be the Patriots, to lose. So I just think that Darrelle Revis, again, assuming he's healthy, is going to tremendously upgrade that Patriots defense, and they're going to be right there challenging for that Lombardi trophy come next February. Now, I know that, there might be 5 or 6 other guys out there that have signed that could have been in the top 5, and as I was doing some research for the show, I realized that, but it's, kind of just my opinion, the ones that jumped out, but arguments could be made for several other guys. And there are a few other guys that are free agents that haven't signed yet. So in the future, I may change this list a little bit. But, as I'm doing the show today, on the 15th of March, I think those are my top 5 right now. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is going back to the NBA, the issue with Steve Nash of the Lakers. Steve Nash just turned 40 years old. He's only played 10 games this year. And it was just announced yesterday he won't be playing again the rest of the season. Now he's got 1 more year on his contract, and he's got some nerve damage, I want to say, in his lower back or something, and plus he's 40 years old. So I'm saying it's very likely that he won't really play again, if at all. But he came out yesterday and said, yeah, I'm coming back next year because I've got $9.7 million due me next year on my contract. And he came out and said, I'm coming back because I want the money. Now, I know he's going through a divorce and things like that, and in doing my research, he's made $137 million in his career. Now, that's an unbelievable amount of money to you and me, and some people might want to think, well, he's just being greedy, just being selfish, he's coming back for $9.7 million when he's made $137 million. Well, that's easy for me to say, because certainly where I work, I don't make $9.7 million. I will never see $9.7 million in all of my years put together in my lifetime, barring some miracle that I'm hoping will happen, but reality says I'll never see that kind of money. But who am I to say, what he should do? I mean, it's easy for me or other people to say, well, he's selfish, he's greedy. Yeah, that's easy to say with other people's money. But, if I could go into my boss's office right now and demand $9.7 million, I certainly would do it, and so would all of you. So I hate when people say, well, this guy's greedy, he's selfish because he wants $20 million or $30 million. Because you and I and everybody else, if we could do it, we'd go into our boss's office too and command it. So all of us need to stop being, hating on these guys. They're in an industry, in the entertainment industry, that people get paid tens of millions of dollars a year. I don't work in that industry. I work in the school system, so I'm not making that kind of money. But I have no problem with people getting as much money as they can at whatever they do, because I would do the same thing if I could, and so would you. The only thing I ask is, I don't care what kind of money you're making, do your best at what you do. If you're a basketball player, people like, you and I, and all the other fans around the world, we pay our hard-earned money to come and watch you guys play, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that, but I expect your best effort. You should not go out and dog it out there. You should have pride in yourself, pride in your team, pride in the league you play for, because it's not a right to play in the NBA or the National Hockey League, Major League Baseball, the NFL. That's a privilege to be able to make that kind of money and do those things. And the only thing I ask is go out and do your best. But again, Steve, I have no problem. If you're able to play, you're under contract to play, and if you're able to suit up, and as long as you give your best effort, I have no problem with you going out and saying, I want that $9.7 million before you retire, because you have to live a long life after. Now, I don't know what he's done with his previous $137 million or whatever. Hopefully he was smart or whatever. But like I said, I have no problem with it. Go out there and make as much money as you can, as long as you're not hurting anybody to do it. We all need to stop being haters on these guys, because really all it is that we're just jealous that we can't make that kind of money at what we do for a living. But anyway, that's all I've got for today. Please follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and it shows you there how to do that. Look for the Sportsocology Show on YouTube. Hit subscribe. It'll let you know whenever I do a show. Most of the time it's going to be on Saturdays. Occasionally it might be on a Friday or a Sunday. I don't know. Life happens. I don't have a set schedule as to when I do it. I just try and put 25-30 minutes a week at some point, usually on the weekends. But please look for the Sportsocology Show on YouTube. Subscribe. Facebook, Twitter. Look for me. Let me know what you think, because I want to hear what people are saying out there. And I hope you all have a great weekend, great day, great rest of the week, until we talk to each other again. And that's all I've got for this week. Thanks a lot for listening, and have a great week. And I'll see you next time, America, wherever you are.